The old clock tower loomed over the small town, its bell ominously silent. Jane shuddered as she walked past it on her way home from the library. The library had been open late tonight, and she was walking home alone after dark. As Jane walked down the winding dirt road, the woods seemed to close in around her. Strange noises came from the bushes, and shadows flickered in the pale moonlight. Jane walked faster, her heart pounding. Suddenly, she heard a twig snap behind her. She whipped around, but nothing was there. Her imagination was getting the better of her. Then she heard slow, heavy footsteps crunching on the gravel road. They were getting closer. She broke into a run. The footsteps behind her accelerated into a run too. She heard heavy breathing closing in, coming closer and closer. Jane screamed as she felt a large hand grasp onto her arm. She spun around to see a menacing figure towering over her. His pale, gaunt face was particularly obscured by the shadows, but she could make out his cold, sinister eyes gazing down at her through the darkness. Jane screamed again and wrenched her arm free. She ran as fast as she could towards the light of the town, the man chasing close behind. She ran and ran, her lungs burning, until she reached her house. She scrambled to unlock the door, flung herself inside, and locked it behind her. As Jane leaned against the door, catching her breath, she suddenly heard a loud thump come from the attic above. Her blood turned to ice. She wasn't alone. The chase wasn't over, and this time, there was nowhere left to run. Jane froze in terror as she heard heavy footsteps slowly creak down the attic stairs. She looked around frantically for a weapon to defend herself. Grabbing a fire poker from next to the fireplace, she held it out in front of her with trembling hands. The attic door flew open. The sinister man emerged, his pale eyes glowing in the darkness. He laughed when he saw the fire poker pointed at him.
Do you really think you can stop me with that little girl?
He started walking slowly down the stairs, step by step. As Jane backed away, she swung the fire poker at him, but he grabbed it effortlessly and wrenched it from her grip. Jane screamed and ran for the front door, but it wouldn't budge. She pounded on the windows, but the locks had been fastened shut. She was trapped. The man descended from the last stair and stood before her, an evil smile spreading across his gaunt face. "Go ahead, scream all you like," he said. "No one will ever hear you. No one will ever find you until it's too late." Jane screamed again and ran for the back door, desperately rattling the handle. It was no use. She was locked in with this madman. All the lighters in the house suddenly went out, the moonlight filtering through the windows, dimly illuminating the man slowly walking towards her, clutching the fire poker. Jane's heart nearly stopped as she backed into a corner. She crouched down, sobbing in terror as the menacing figure towered over her, raising the fire poker over his head. "Please, please don't hurt me," she whimpered. The man's icy, soulless eyes gazed down at her. "But my dear," he whispered.
The fun is just beginning.
He brought the fire poker down with a crash, and Jane's horrified screams pierced the silence of the night. This happened a few years ago on a family Christmas holiday. Before my grandma died, our family would spend Christmas together somewhere in Scotland. There's quite a few of us, so we need to rent out a house big enough to sleep all 15 adults. This particular Christmas we rented a huge Victorian house in Dunfermline. It was actually bigger than we needed, so there was some rooms we didn't need. The kids in our family, all in our mid to late 20s, had our own wing. There was a line of 5 rooms, a double, 3 twins, and a double. 1 cousin in the first double, 2 cousins in the first twin, my sisters in the second twin, and an empty twin, and then me in the last double. Now, I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that, and I'm of a mind enough that I know these experiences can be explained scientifically, but the things you see and the terror you feel is so real, it stays in your bones forever. Even writing this now, 7 years later, is giving me goosebumps. I have experienced night terrors in the past, but I can usually move and talk to myself to tell myself that what I'm seeing isn't real. A little context: a few years before this, I saw a man with hollow eyes and glowing blue shirt standing at the bottom of my bed, and I sat up and looked at him and dove back under the covers. I stayed there until I had the courage to pull the covers back down and turn the light on. It happened on the first night. I woke up in the middle of the night, and being in this huge Victorian country house, there is no light from the outside. The room was so dark, each corner was like an abyss. There, in the darkness at the bottom of my bed, was a tall figure nearly up to the ceiling. The longer I looked, I noticed it ever so slightly swaying from left to right. Having had night terrors before, I thought to myself, no, I know this ain't real. I know it's my eyes adjusting, or part of my dream that has come into the waking world, and I haven't woken up properly yet, but I knew I was awake, so I turned on my left side and closed my eyes, and I thought to myself, this isn't real, it's just your brain making something out of the darkness. Then, as if it was right in front of my face, there was the most sinister evil laugh. I cannot describe how utterly diabolic this laugh was, like nothing I have ever heard. It went through my bones, so evil, the thought of it still terrifies me. As soon as the laugh stopped, it was fast, only seconds long. It ran in fast short steps around the perimeter of the bed, to the right hand side that my back was facing. I couldn't contain myself anymore. When it got there, I let out the loudest scream I could, a blood-curdling scream, with my eyes still closed. It was that feeling that, if I looked into the face of what was making this laugh, I will die. I scrambled for the light. I was expecting everyone in the house to wake up and come running to my room to see what was the matter, or at least my sisters and cousin who were sleeping in the same wing, but no one came. The house was that big that no one heard me. That scared me even more. The next morning at breakfast, I asked my cousins and sisters if they heard me scream in the night. They didn't. I guess the empty room between us was enough to silence my scream. I would have changed rooms, but I'm an adult and I know it's daft to be scared of something like that. But for the rest of the trip, I slept with the lights on. So when I was younger, my mother had given me this doll on a bike. He had a jumpsuit on and had little black beady eyes that looked like a human's. Anyways, my mother said that my grandma had given it to her and she gave it to me. My mum had put the doll in my room and left it there. A couple of days later, she walked into my room and found that I had thrown the doll in the closet. When she asked why did you put the doll in the closet? I had said because at night when I was trying to sleep, it would run around my bed and try to get on top of the bed to get in it. I had also said that it had actually got onto my bed. Then my mom says okay and puts the doll in the garage. Later on, she tells my grandma about what I said, and she told my mom, I didn't want to tell you this because I didn't want you to get freaked out, but the same thing happened to me, except I didn't let it get onto my bed. So I give it to you because I didn't want it anymore. My mother got mad at her, but I can't recall about this ever happening again. Maybe because I was so little at the time, but just thinking about the doll creeps me out. I still remember its eyes. Its eyes looked so real, like a human's.